Islam. At this time, I'd like to recite Act 6 of our divine constitution and bylaws. And it reads on this wise. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality. And we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Jew Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. At this time, I'd like to recite the Moorish American prayer because this is the source from which we draw our strength. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. First off, I'd like to rise, walking in Jerusalem, just like John, giving praise to Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, the one who stretches forth the heaven with his hands, who have described with his fingers the courses of the stars, who set his bounds to the ocean that it cannot pass, and said to the stormy winds, be still. I'd like to give honor to the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star, talking about none other than our holy and illustrious prophet, noble Drew Ali. I'd like to give honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali because it was he sent by Allah who reached down into the watery grave of hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms and set you and me back upright on our feet again. I'd like to give honor to the forerunner to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Moses Garvey. I'd like to give honor to Marcus Moses Garvey because this brother had to have pure thoughts in order to pave the way for love. I'd like to give honor to all of those and honor to all of you that have and will aid and assist us in this, our divine and gigantic mission, the uplifting of fallen humanity. Last but not least, I'd like to give a special honor to effort because so many of us don't even try. At this time, I'd like to read from the Book of the Seven Seals. The none was able to open and read from its sacred pages the messages of purity and love. And I read this evening from chapter 46. The title of this chapter is The Foundation and the Beginning of Christianity. And it reads on this wise. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. The Roman nations founded the first church of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. Jesus himself was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa, seeking to redeem his people in those days from the pressure of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Rome crucified him according to their law. Then Europe had peace for a long time until Muhammad I came upon the scene and fulfilled the works of Jesus of Nazareth. The holy teachings of Jesus was to the common people, to redeem them from under the great pressure of the hands of the unjust, that the rulers and the rich would not oppress the poor, also that the lion and the lamb may lay down together, and neither will be harmed when morning came. These teachings were not accepted by the rulers, neither by the rich, because they loved the principles of the 10th Commandments. Through the 10th Commandments, the rulers and the rich live, while the poor suffer and die. The lamb is the poor people. The lion is the ruler and the rich. And through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all men are one and equal to seek their own destiny and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, after the principles of the holy and divine laws of the holy prophet. All nations of the earth in these modern days are seeking peace. But there is but one true and divine way that peace may be obtained in these days, and it is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice being taught universally to all nations in all lands. Thus, we just had a reading of the book of the seven seals that was divinely prepared by our holy prophet Noble Drew Ali for our earthly and our divine salvation. Indeed, it's always an honor, a pleasure, moreover, a duty to be able to come to you and talk to you about the last prophet in these days, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who was sent to us by Allah to redeem us from our sinful ways and to warn us about the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Now, indeed, it's an honor, a pleasure, moreover a duty to be able to come back before my Portland listening audience to talk to you about something that you don't know nothing about. And it is about your nationality, because everybody have a nationality except you and except me. The last 3 weeks, I've been on a lot of conference calls. The reason why I've been on a lot of conference calls the last couple of weeks, because there has been a brother that's in the Moorish Science Temple of America, and he put something out. He put a couple of lessons out to the public. And the reason why he put these lessons out is because in 1928, the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali attended a meeting over in the East. And as he attended this meeting, everybody that came to that meeting knew who their religion was, or who knew what their religion was, but they didn't know what their nationality was. So Noble Drew Ali, he came in 1928, and he had a brother with him by the name of 6May2023. And this brother 6May2023 was a brother that spoke a lot of different languages. And because he spoke a lot of different languages, the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali used him as his interpreter to the meeting that we had in the East. Now, before I get back into talking about this meeting that we had back in the East, when Noble Drew Ali came back to the United States, they had something that you call Ellis Island. And this Ellis Island that they had is right there in New York City. And this is where a lot of people was being transported when they was going across the water. But when Noble Drew Ali came back from that meeting in 1928, when he came through Ellis Island in New York, there was something that was asked him. And what was asked him, said, "Where's that?" And he said, "What you talking about? Where's what? Where's the information that you have?" And Noble Drew Ali said, "The information that I have is right here." And this is what my subject matter is going to be about today, because I want to talk about some things that a lot of people could not talk about and still cannot talk about. because when they said, why was Jesus sent to this earth? And it said Jesus was sent to this earth to save the Israelites from the iron-hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe who was governing a portion of Palestine at that time. So now, Noble Drew Ali came and established the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913 in Newark, New Jersey, for the express and profound purpose of uplifting fallen humanity, teaching those things necessary to make our members better citizens. So when Drew Ali established the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1929, see, in 1929, see, there was some brothers and there was some sisters that was members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. But because of their leadership in 1928 and 29, when he left the Moorish Science Temple, because of his leadership, he was put on the payroll. He was put on the payroll, and our people was known as the so-called black man. And the reason why Noble Drew Ali was sent to this earth, which was to save the Israelites from the iron-hand oppression of the pale-skinned nation of Europe, was to give you and me back what was taken away from us. And what was taken away from us was our nationality. See, in 1913, when Noble Drew Ali established the Moorish Science Temple of America, everybody that was a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America knew who they were, and they knew who their forefathers were. And they knew that they wasn't Negro, colored, or black. And the reason why they knew that they wasn't Negro, colored, and black was because in 711, the Moors went into Spain. And when we went into Spain, we went in Spain to give Europe civilization, because Europe was living in the Dark Ages. So when Noble Drew Ali went there, he went there and gave them two things. He told them about their religion, and he told them about the divine creed. But when you begin to talk about divine creed, you are talking about learn to love instead of hate. When you're talking about divine creed, you are talking about being who your forefathers were. When you're talking about divine creed, then you can't be talking about Negro, colored, and black, because I just said that the Moors went into Spain in 711. And when Moors went in Spain in 711 to give Europe civilization, who were we? We was Moors. It was the Moors who went into Spain. And when we went into Spain in 711 and gave Europe civilization, the reason why the money was given and taken is because they stopped calling you who your forefathers were. But when Drew Ali came to this earth, and he came to save the Israelites from the iron-hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, who was governed a portion of Palestine at that time, then a conflict came. It was a conflict that came that couldn't be told in words, because in order for me, in order for you, and in order for anybody to talk about reparation, the only way you're going to get reparation, because you got to be who your forefathers were. Because they said man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So now we're talking about the spirit now. We're talking about the divine creed now. We're talking about man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. Now, my age group, most of them gone now. I just got a call from Howard Hill, and he was talking about a brother Irvin York. Brother come up with us. He's a couple of years younger. Come up with us, but all these brothers are leaving now. They are no longer with us. But during the time of us coming up, when you say Negro, that's a slave name. Because Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. Colored is anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. And black, according to science, means death. So now, when Noble Drew Ali came, when Noble Drew Ali took Brother C. Lynch-Bey as his interpreter when he had to go sit with these brothers and sisters over in the East. See, when he went to sit with brothers that in the East and sisters in the East, he went because he had a nationality already. They knew who he was. He just didn't know, because from the East comes all light. And though the sun is hanging at high noon, the blind cannot see the light. The same as the Islamic creed brought through the Asiatics of North America by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who offered to those who were sick at heart, tried for many years, yet they are blind and cannot see the light. Nor is the prophet trying to put new wine in old skin, for he know that it was burst in. Still, he had the remedy for the nations, the same remedy brought by Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. With remedy is the truth, but the nations do not want the truth because it is too stern. But until they accept it and find out where it truly is, there will continue to be religious controversy. Now, it's a lot of videos that yet was put out by a brother named Ward Dean Muhammad. And Brother Ward Dean Muhammad is the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And one thing about this brother, because he's pure in heart, because only the pure in heart could recognize the king. So this brother, being pure in heart, he was talking about his father. And he was saying that you're talking about the supreme captain of the FOI, and you're talking about all these different brothers and sisters that was a part of Farad Muhammad's movement. He said, but when you begin to look at that, you got to understand they was members of the Moorish Science Temple of America before they went with my father. So when you begin to talk about Ward Dean, when you begin to talk about Farad, and when you begin to talk about all these brothers and sisters that I'm talking about right now, they was members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. But now when you begin to look at certain videos and certain tapes and see that certain people was getting $100,000 a year because they had to get the money because they disregarded the true teachings of the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali sent by Allah, because the book said, whenever a nation is in need of a prophet, Allah will send one. And he sent Noble Drew Ali to us to redeem us from our sinful ways. I went to junior high school. When I was in elementary school, we was Negroes. And when I was in junior high school, we was colored. And then when I got in high school, we was black. But the only black flag I know is the one that killed roaches. And when we begin to talk about going to the government for reparation, see, the only way you can go to the government for reparation, you're going to have the paperwork. Because Noble Drew Ali was sent to us to redeem us from our sinful ways. We knew back then that we wasn't Negro, colored, and black. We knew that in 1913. Noble Drew Ali was sent to us by Allah to redeem us from our sinful ways and to tell us who our forefathers were. But now we calling ourselves Negro, we calling ourselves colored, and we calling ourselves black. These are slave names, because these names was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. So now let's look at this slave trade again. Let's look at it. Let's look at it because Noble Drew Ali was sent to this earth to redeem us from our sinful ways. We was in Spain in 711. I remember in 1453, Byzantine We were still in Spain, teaching the European, but we were still having conflicts about who we were and who our forefathers were. So the purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America is to redeem our people from our sinful ways and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Now, Noble Drew Ali established the Moorish Science Temple of America. And the reason why he established the Moorish Science Temple of America is to redeem you and me from our sinful ways. Because it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. So now we're talking about Noble Drew Ali again. We said when Noble Drew Ali came, he had to come and we was 3/5 of a man. They say all day long in mathematics, 5/5 is a whole. So we was 3/5 of a man because there was 2/5 that was missing. And the 2/5 that was missing was your nationality and your divine creed. So Noble Drew Ali came. And when he came with those other 2/5. And those other 2/5 is 5/5 now. You no longer 3/5, you 5/5. And you being 5/5, you are whole. So you and me, who's saying that we are Negro, colored, and black. And let me talk about this now. We say we are black. And we saying that the only black flag we know is the one that killed roaches. But these names was given to slaves by slaveholders. And I'm saying that even religiously speaking, you have to understand that they said that there was Jesus, and there was Jesus' grandfather, and then there was Abraham, and there's Boaz by Ruth, and there was Jesse, and there was King David, and there was Solomon, and there was Hezekiah, and there was Joseph by Mary. But the reason why we had to flip the script too, but we had to stop calling ourselves Negro, colored, and black at first, because we had other people that took your birthright. They took your forefathers and your foremothers, buried them in Vatican Square. And when they buried them in Vatican Square, they took on our name. So now we go around and we say, man, I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm healthy. I'm Negro and I'm healthy. But when the Moors went into Spain in 711, in 711, when the Moors went into Spain, we went into Spain as who? We went into Spain as Moors. And we came out as Negro, colored, and black. So there's but one supreme issue for our people to use from that which is lost, and it has come through the above statement. Then the lion and the lamb may lay down together, and neither will be harmed when morning comes, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now look at this. I'm looking at Queen Isabella. And when I'm looking at Queen Isabella, I'm looking at that flag. I'm looking at the flag that her sons and all of them are flying now, but they are the ones that buried our forefathers in Vatican Square. They took on our name. Now they're calling themselves who we are. Now let's look at the Asiatic nations in North, South, and Central America. If you call yourself other than who you were, now we know about the Portuguese, we know about the Dutch, we know about the French. And when you begin to look at the Portuguese, and when you begin to look at the Dutch, and when you begin to look at the French, and when you begin to look at the slave trade, you going back to Africa. But they took my forefathers. They took my name. They took my customs. They took my traditions. And we are still fighting this battle today. But now, we have brothers now, they're old. They're in their 80s now and 90s. some of the same ones that still taking that money from the government, they get ready to leave. They get ready to leave us now. They get ready to go back, and they still calling our people black. They still calling our people Negroes. They still calling our people colored. No, truth don't change, because you are who your forefathers were yesterday. And this is the reason why we had this meeting in 1928 over in the East, when this brother C. Kirkland Bey was Noble Drew Ali's interpreter. And shortly thereafter, it was about time for Noble Drew Ali to leave. He set the sheiks down. He said, I'm ready to go. They coming at me because I'm talking about redeeming you from your sinful ways and warning you of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So all these brothers, you look at them now, they got the prettiest suits on. They rocking around calling us black. But they're leaders. In 1913 AD, when Noble Drew Ali came, he told us that we was a Negro, colored, and black. He had it in letter form. He had it written. I read one of the chapters today what Noble Drew Ali brought to us. See, you have to understand. Now, when I said something about the slave trade, and I said something about Ruth and Boaz and King David, then I had to look at Ruth's mother. I had to look at Mary's mother. And I had to look at Mary's father, and they call these the two pillars. And the reason why they call them the two pillars is because they talking about Boaz and they talking about Jacqueline. And when you begin to talk about Jacqueline, and when you begin to talk about Boaz, you are hooked back up with the family of nations. And you know what seems so strange? Noble Drew Ali came in 1913. And in 1913, we wasn't conscious of who we were. This is why Allah sent him here. Why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? To save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nation of Europe, who was governing a portion of Palestine at that time. So now, we remember 1968, and back then when the Black Panthers came about, but see, what had to save us wasn't what the Black Panthers done, is what Noble Drew Ali done. Because Allah sent Noble Drew Ali to redeem us from our sinful ways. Because it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. So now we all studying now. We all went to college, and we went to school, and we got 2 or 3 different degrees. We went to college, got 2 or 3 different degrees, but now we call ourselves black. It's a sin. We call ourselves black because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. I'm looking at my paperwork I have, and when I grew up, I went to one of the first high schools that they had in the United States called Paul Laurence Dunbar. And most of our brothers and sisters went there was gigantic. The work that they done was gigantic. But Allah still had to send Noble Drew Ali to redeem us from our sinful ways, because there's a lot of paperwork going on. But it is a sin for you and me to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. What are the names and principles that delude to slavery? Negro, colored, and black. And you know, Negro is a name given to that river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. And all of these brothers and sisters that know the records, but because of their relationship with those that is in control and giving these the finances and things that they need, the worst is yet to come. This is why Noble Drew Ali told the Moors in 1913, See, in 1930, you got to understand. Let me go back and call these brothers' names. You had Ward-Din Muhammad, Farad Muhammad, you had Elijah Muhammad, you had all these brothers. All these brothers and sisters was taught by Noble Drew Ali. The same thing. Before Noble Drew Ali passed, he had to disband the Supreme Grand Council because the European was taking in control. They was in control of it all. But we're talking about redeeming our people of their sinful ways. And if you call yourself anything other than Moorish, then it's a slave to sin. Because this is who we were before. So let me say something. Now, in 1913 AD, 1914, 15, 16, 1930, all the way up to 1930, before these other people stepped up and started taking control. Drew Ali came to this earth, was sent here by Allah, because the book say, whenever a nation is in need of a prophet, Allah will send one. So we was in need of a prophet. Who was you talking about you in need of a prophet? The Moors. The Moors were before the slave trade. Now, the Moors went into Spain from 711 to 1492. Now, what happened in 1492? We got to really look at this. Because when you begin to 1492, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and 15. When you begin to talk about 15, this is where a lot of things came into manifest. A lot of things changed. This is when the foundation of Christianity took place. This is when Ferdinand, Queen Isabella, this is when these are they who took charge. This is why we're not at war with no one. We're just at war with falsehood. But don't take away who I am to make me who you want me to be because of the slave trade. And through the slave trade, you took my forefathers, you buried them in Vatican Square and took on the name. But it is a sin, see? It is a sin for any group of people. Now, I like to reiterate, because the times are changing now. You got a lot of these leaders out there, and they still calling us black. These are names that was given to slaves by slaveholders. And this is something that we have to look at, because we have to redeem. I have a granddaughter. I have daughters. I have nephews, children of mine. And they still call themselves Negro, colored, and black. Matter of fact, I got a lot of friends of mine. They from Africa, but they call themselves black. And it is a sin for you to call yourself black, because where you from in Africa? You might be from Ghana. You might be from Nigeria. You might be from Sierra Leone. And if that is the case, you're part of the slave trade too. But what you need to do, you need to understand that you don't have nobody talking about the Moors today. Nobody talking about the Moors nowhere, because the Moors are dead. We are buried. We are part of an illusion. The Europeans, through the Atlantic slave trade, buried my forefathers and buried your forefathers, and now we don't even realize that we need to talk about reparation. We need to talk about reparation because it was taken away from you and me. And they're talking brothers and sisters all across the country. They are beginning now to talk about reparation. And they're saying that we need to get with the government, go to court, and deal with reparation. See, but let me tell you, we have brothers and sisters now. They're going down to the courthouse, and they're filing paperwork. And they're filing paperwork because they said that we're not Negro, colored, and black, and we're Moors. But the records show that Allah sent Noble Drew Ali to redeem you and me from our sinful ways, and to warn us of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. But it says that Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple of America. So if he founded the Moorish Science Temple of America, what you have to do is go back to the Moorish Science Temple of America. You have to go in the Moorish Science Temple of America and proclaim your nationality. You have to go in there and proclaim your nationality, because we are going back to who our forefathers were. But you can't do it under the banner of Negro, colored, and black. And a lot of us, I got friends. I have some friends that's Portuguese. I have friends that's Dutch. I have friends that's so many different nationalities, but they're Europeans. See, you have European nationality, but you have a lot of Europeans today that then took my nationality, took it as their own, and gave me something else. And what did they give me? They gave me Negro. They gave me colored. And they gave me black. And these are they that is in control of the slave trade. So brothers and sisters who have children, knowing that in the next 30, 40 years, everybody that's right here now, you're going to be gone. You're going to be gone. And if you don't take these lessons and pass these lessons to our little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate, the worst is yet to come. Because man can't serve two masters at the same time. You got to be who you are and who your forefathers were. Because man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his mother and father unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So we blessed. You still have a lot of brothers around right now, a lot of sisters around right now that's been around, that's around with those that know the prophet in 1913. So you got to be who your forefathers were. But if you call yourself Negro, colored, and black, or if you're telling people to go down to some courthouse and take out some kind of paperwork, this is not going to do it when you begin to talk about reparation, because why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? And the book is right there. Say Allah sent Jesus to this earth to save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, who was governing a portion of Palestine at this time. What I want to do right now, I want to read something else that Noble Drew Ali brought to the Moors. See, he brought something to us, and he brought it to us to redeem us from our sinful ways. I'm going to read from the divine origin of the Asiatic nation, chapter 45. And it reads on this wise. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nations of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know their higher self and lower self. This is the Holy Quran of the whole. This is the Holy Quran of the teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moors, who were the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. The Egyptians, who were the Hammatites and a direct descendant of Mizraim. The Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese. The Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites from the land of Canaan. The Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America. The Moorish Americans and the Mexicans of North America. Brazilians, Argentinians, Chileans in South America, Colombia, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed beginning from Muhammad I, the founder of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal God, Allah. That's what we just had a reading from the Moorish Holy Quran. We call it the Book of the Seven Seals. See, because none was able to open and read from these sacred pages the messages of purity and love. But if they say man today is what his forefathers were yesterday, then you got to go back to who you are. I know you say it ain't. You can call yourself black. You can call yourself Negro. But there are people you call Chinese. There are people that you call German. And they honoring the creed and principles of their mothers and fathers. And they are not straying after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing of, because you and I are straying after the gods of Europe. Because they say whenever a nation is in need for a prophet, whenever a nation is in need of a prophet, Allah will send one. And he sent us Noble Drew Ali. He sent us Noble Drew Ali, and let me tell you something else. Noble Drew Ali came. And when he came, he bought us this fez that I have on. This red fez. He bought us a red fez, and he bought us a black fez. And when Noble Drew Ali bought us this, a lot of people had to stop wearing it. Because those people that I named, Farad, Elijah, and all these brothers, when you check the record out, all of them had fezes on. All of them had circle sevens on. But when they become members of the organization other than the Moorish Science Temple of America, because when I said Moorish Science Temple of America, we're talking about nationality and we're talking about divine creed. This is why Noble Drew Ali was sent to this earth, to redeem us from our sinful ways. We're talking about citizenship now. We're talking about hooking our people back up with the families of nations. We're telling our people to learn to love instead of hate. Because it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and stray after the gods of Europe, of whom you knew nothing. So you straying after the gods of Europe because you calling yourself black. We know it ain't no such thing as a black man. We know it ain't no such thing as a Negro. We know it ain't no such thing as color. And we know that these names was given to us by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. So different eras of time, the same thing that Ward D. Muhammad was just talking about. He was talking about his father, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when he established the Moorish Science Temple of America, and he was talking about the length of time, the time that Noble Drew Ali founded the Moorish Science Temple of America. Because Ward, no, he didn't go. He didn't come over there with us to proclaim his nationality. But he did what his father told him to do. When his father passed, he kept that line going. But ain't but one. I don't care who you think you are or who your forefathers were, you cannot call yourself colored. You cannot call yourself Chinese. You cannot call yourself Japanese. You have to be who your forefathers were. And it's important. It's important because all of us that call ourselves those of African descent, there is a reparation that's for you. There is a blessing that's for you. And I see it coming. Because as I said, most of the brothers and sisters that call themselves Negro, colored, and black, because I like to reiterate, I remember before you was Negro. I remember before you was colored. I remember before you was black. The only black flag I know is the one that killed roaches. So now you can call yourself black. You can call yourself a crown. You can call yourself a color. But during the advent of slavery, who were you? That's why Act 1, it said, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality. And we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people or Ethiopians, because these names was given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national. You see, when Noble Drew Ali came, he said, this is a new era of time now. And he said, all men now must proclaim their free national name. We're not talking about no other kind of national nothing. We're talking about your free national name. And the reason why we talking about free national name, because when we step to the government, we step into the government as Moorish Americans. And they say, why are we Moorish American? Because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. And these Moroccans are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So when Noble Drew Ali came, Allah sent him. Allah sent him with the methodology that's conducive to our growth and development. And when you begin to look around you now, and all our good brothers, I understand. I understand you selling out. I understand you being part of slavery. I understand that you are slave to sin, because it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. Now, what are the name and principles that delude to slavery? And that's who our brothers and sisters took on when they left Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America. He said, Negro. So Negro is a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. Black, according to science, means death. And Ethiopia means something divided. Can a man be a Negro, colored, black, or Ethiopian? No. Why? Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God Allah. Can a man be a Negro, colored, and black? No. Man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. If we was Moors when we went into Spain in 711, then you are still Moors today. There's Germans. There was Germans then. There are Germans now. Nationality is the order of the day. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their mothers and fathers and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. So now, if we call ourselves anything other than Moorish, you don't even have a right that a citizen is bound to respect. You don't even have a right to take your case to court, because before the slave trade, who were you? When we went into Spain, who were we? And when we fought with the Europeans in 1453 Byzantine to restore the Islamic creed, we were still known as Moors then. But now that was taken away from you. It was taken away from you, and something else was given to you to help along with this slave trade, because it is a sin for any group of people, to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. So now we got to start going back to school. We have a lot of brothers and sisters. Some of them go to school. They're in the medical field. They're in a lot of different other fields. But there's another field that you got to look at. You have to look at your nationality. You have to look at your divine creed. You have to look at Noble Drew Ali and what he restored upon you and me. See how blessed we are? All these brothers and sisters that we giving all this honor to, they're working for the government. They're working for the European. They calling you black. And they accept the term black. And if they was getting 100,000 a year ago, they're getting 200,000 now. But what we have to do now, we have to proclaim our national. Now, we got a lot of brothers now. I just just heard from some brothers that's been gone out of the community for a lot of years, but they back now, and most of them is passing phone. But right now, you say that you love Allah, you say that you love the prophet, you say that you who your forefathers were, you saying the nationality is the order of the day, and that Noble Drew Ali is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and he found the Moorish Science Temple of America to redeem you and me from our sinful ways. Because it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that allude to slavery. Negro, colored, and black. Let me go back to work. I remember when we started calling ourselves black. I remember when we started calling ourselves Negro. I remember when we started calling ourselves colored. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that allude to slavery. Let me go back to something else Noble Drew Ali gave us. He gave us something else, and it's important that we look at it. If we don't look at it, then we will miss the point. I'm going to look at the last chapter in the Moorish Holy Quran. This is known as the Book of the Seven Seals, that none was able to open and read from its sacred pages the messages of purity and love. The title of this chapter is The End of Time and the Fulfilling of the Prophecies, and it's read on this wise. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days to warn and stir up the nation to prepare them to receive the divine creed which is to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men. That the nations shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree and return to their own and be one with their Father, God Allah. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawful, chartered, and incorporated organization. In its subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the prophet have them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc., that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of men of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We, as a clean and pure nation, descendants from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the family of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the Europeans, which was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returned to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. While we, the Moorish Americans, are returned to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and our divine salvation. So this is why the book say, why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? Or whenever a nation is in need for a prophet, Allah will send one. Allah will send one. So he sent Drew Ali. He sent Drew Ali because the book tells us that whenever a nation is in need of a prophet, Allah will send one. Why? Because Allah will send a prophet because he come to redeem us from our sinful ways. He come to redeem us from those things that we lost, which was our nationality, which was our divine creed. When you begin to talk about divine creed, you into the spirit. You're talking about the Last Supper. When you begin to talk about the Last Supper, you're talking about the principles, the creed and principles of our forefathers that was given to us because we strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom we knew nothing of. But Noble Ali came with a methodology that was conducive to our growth and our development. He told us about Jesus. He told us about Mary. He told us about Joseph. Now we got brothers and sisters, and even self. We're looking at Jesus, and we're looking at Mary, and we're looking at Joseph as other than who they really are. And because of that, we are the ones that's straying after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing of. They have our Jesus, and they have our Mary. They have us looking like somebody other than who we were. Now Jesus, where was he born? Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judah in the house of David. Who were his father and mother? Joseph and Mary. And they said, why did Allah send Jesus to this earth? The same reason why Allah sent Noble Ali to this earth. Because when you begin to talk about Jesus, and when you begin to talk about Muhammad, when you begin to talk about Buddha, when you begin to talk about Confucius, let's look at the house of David. And when you begin to talk about the house of David, you're talking about a bloodline. And you talking about a bloodline, you're talking about your father and your mother. And the book keeps telling you that it is a sin for you or me to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the name and principles that delude to slavery. So man today is what his forefathers were yesterday. And there's no one who is able to change man from his decent nature unless his power extend beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. Negro, a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contained black water. That's what Negro is. It's a color. It's anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. And Ethiopian is something divided. It's always an honor to be able to come before our Portland listening audience to talk to you about nationality and divine creed. At this time, I'd like to close out with the Moorish prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.